Hey guys, I hope you're doing great today, and I can't wait to bring you the show. But before I do, I just want to make a quick request. If you're listening to the show and you're getting good value and you're enjoying the content and you feel that it's valuable, if you could just take a second and go and give me a rating and review in whatever platform you listen, whether it be Apple or Google or Spotify, whatever it is, just go and give me a rating and review. That would be very appreciated. All right, guys, let's dive in.
If you can negotiate somehow to get paid based on your performance, right? Which is a little bit of a risk, right? But it's a risk within your own organization as opposed to a risk being out on your own.
Right.
And then if you can prove yourself by being paid based on your performance, you're gonna earn a higher income. You're gonna have a higher ceiling, right? And then once you do that and you become super valuable, then you can negotiate, or you at least have some leverage to negotiate maybe some equity, right? Mm-hmm. Based on your performance, right? And that's what I did.
You're listening to the Just Start Real Estate Podcast. If you're serious about your real estate investing business and need real answers, you are in the right place. And now, your host, Mike Simmons.
All right. Thank you for joining me on Just Start Real Estate. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. Lots and lots of options, guys. I get it. I know that. And you're here, and that's cool. I appreciate it. And I try to deliver every day. Today is no different. Guys, if you're getting a lot of value out of this show and you want to give back in any way or feel grateful and want to help me out, I would really love it if you would go to wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or whatever, and give me a rating and review. That would be so great and very appreciated if you could do that. All right. On today's show, guys, I have a good one. Somebody who is an absolute sales master. He has been an enterprise sales expert for years, working with Fortune 500 companies and that are generating over $50 million in revenue. With 20 years of business development experience, he now helps people succeed by learning the enterprise sales process so they can create generational wealth through selling as a professional. He is inspiring the next generation of sales professionals, giving them the skills they need in the new business landscape. Guys, on the show today, I have for you Anthony Eisenman, and we had a blast talking. Just so much stuff. This guy's so smart, and he is so focused and just focused on helping people create generational wealth. And a lot of that is through sales and through his skills as a salesperson. And he is absolutely a sales master. So buckle up, get ready. This is going to be a great one. I give you guys Anthony Eisenman. All right, Anthony, thank you for doing this. Thank you for agreeing to be on Just Start Real Estate. It's a thrill to have you on, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I appreciate you having me on. I know we got some mutual friends in the industry, so it's always good to connect with people like you, and hopefully I can provide some value to the audience. And yeah, man, let's get into it.
I love it. And you're right. I love recommendations. I love when people I respect say, you've got to have this guy on. He's awesome. It makes my life so much easier because I feel like some of that vetting has been done when it's someone I trust. So yeah, I'm with you. I echo the same things. It'll be a fun conversation. You've got a lot going on and a lot of cool things for my audience to learn from. But before we get too deep into the now, if you don't mind, let's dial it back a little bit. Talk about your background, how you got started in your industry, and what that looked like prior to kind of going off and doing some stuff on your own, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I think like a lot of sales guys, right? You come up in maybe a little bit of an interesting background, right? So I was, grew up in just an average family, man. But I had a single mom. My father went to jail when I was 5 years old for 13 years, man. So I had a lot going on growing up. And, that resulted in not doing too well in school, barely graduated high school. And, once you get to a certain point, you see friends going to college, doing this, doing that, right? And you start to sit back and you're like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to do those things that society tells you that you need to do to create a high income or a good life for yourself, right? Whether that's being a doctor or an attorney or those types of things, right? So I started to think about how I was going to make it in this world, to live the life I wanted to live, right? Like everybody wants to travel, wants to have nice things, wants to have a family, and I resorted to sales, right? Because I figured, as I started to do my own research, you can kind of get paid based on your performance. You don't need to have all these credentials. You don't need to have all these contacts. And, literally for the last 30 years, I've been trying to master the sales game. And I've just kind of, learned a lot along the way, made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of adjustments, got lucky here and there. But about 15 years ago, I really started to get into the enterprise sales game where you can really start to make some big commission checks, start to make some really high income because you're selling deals into large organizations. You're solving big problems. You're dealing with a lot of decision makers, complex deals, long sales cycles. And for the past 15 years, I've really been able to do really, really well at that. Started selling into Fortune 100 companies. Was able to negotiate some stock options, right, with the company that I'm at now, which I help people do now as well, learn how to do that. But so right now, I am literally a large shareholder in a privately held organization. We're a $70 million company. We're trying to get to 100 million. But now on the side, I also have built my own personal brand. I have a podcast. I've written books. I now coach and help people, do the same things that I've been able to do, which is earn a high income. And then obviously take that high income, and invest it in some cash flowing assets, build your own brand, maybe buy a business so you can start to generate some real wealth, right? So that's in a nutshell, man, what it's been for the past 30 years.
That's a whirlwind. And I will say, you mentioned that you negotiated stock options when you were working for this company that now you're a large shareholder in. I've had folks, sales guys work for me who are constantly trying to renegotiate their commissions, the terms, and it is frustrating. But it was pointed out to me years ago that that's exactly what you want. You want a salesperson that's always negotiating and trying to make things better for themselves because they're doing the exact same thing. It's in their nature. It's in their nature to try to improve and sell themselves and make more and that kind of thing. So I love that, man. You're able to negotiate yourself right into a majority shareholder, which is so cool. A lot going on, but what I really want to take a minute to digest, because a lot of my listeners, maybe they're not a large shareholder in a $70 million company, but they're working for a company, maybe in sales, maybe not. And they know that they want to create other streams of income. Maybe they want to start a real estate business, right? A lot of my listeners are real estate investors or want to be real estate investors, and they want to do that. And I know you have a real estate arm of what you're doing now too, and I'd like to touch on that in a minute. But first, talk to me about that kernel of an idea, or that first time that you ever said, I'm crushing it here, but I know I need to create not only multiple streams of income, but other opportunities for myself and a brand that gives me some freedom. What was the thought process? Why? What happened if something happened to make you think that? And what were those conversations? Are you married, by the way? I think you're a married guy.
Yeah, I'm married, two kids too.
Yeah. I did a little investigating, so I kind of gathered you had kids. I didn't see your wife in the pictures, but I figured, okay, so you must have had a conversation at some point, like, hey, honey, I'm thinking about doing this, and it's because there's time, right? Time commitment. What was that thought process, and why did you ever go down that road? Because you're doing financially well anyway. So why even do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And there's a couple pieces to the question. So, and to your audience, right? If you're listening and you want to generate an additional stream of income, if you want to generate more income, if you're working for an organization, my first piece of advice would be, if you can negotiate somehow to get paid based on your performance, right? If you can somehow negotiate to get paid based on your performance, right? Which is a little bit of a risk, right? But it's a risk within your own organization as opposed to a risk being out on your own. Right. And then if you can prove yourself by being paid based on your performance, you're going to earn a higher income. You're going to have a higher ceiling, right? And then once you do that and you become super valuable, right? Then you can negotiate, or you at least have some leverage to negotiate maybe some equity, right? Mm-hmm. Based on your performance, right? And that's what I did. So that was the first part of your question. That just gets you thinking entrepreneurially. Yeah. Even if it's within your own not within your organization, within somebody else's organization. Now, everybody wants to go out and build an additional stream of income, right? Whether it's, maybe you have a passion and you want to, start selling that, or you want to coach somebody, or if you like astrology or whatever you like, right? And I think, everybody should think about a couple things before they do that. One is, are you doing really, really well in what you're doing now, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Are you maxing out what you're doing now? And do you have it dialed in to where it's a well-oiled machine? You have some systems in place, you have some processes in place so that you can, open yourself up to have some time to do what you're passionate to be generating additional stream of income. The second thing is, once you start doing that second thing and you start doing it well, you better be on your game in your mainstream of income, because people are going to start noticing and they're going to be like, hey, what's this guy doing? Or what's this girl doing? Yeah. Should she be spending her time doing some other things? So things that you want to think about, right? But there's always going to be fear that comes into place. And what I tell everybody is, don't ever be afraid to, lose what you have now to gain even more. That's the biggest fear we all have, right? I just spent 30 years building up my career and I'm doing well. And what if I lose it all? Right.
Yep.
It's like, shit, that's almost half of my life. Right. That's the biggest fear. And listen, I had that fear, oh man, when I build my personal brand and people see me on the internet and I'm talking about this and doing things, and what are my customers going to think? Or what are my coworkers going to think? Right. So we all got to overcome that fear.
Did that come up? Was that a thing? Did that happen?
For me? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there were some things, never anything for my customers. My customers, I have really, really good relationships with. And I'm very transparent and genuine in general. So they weren't seeing anything on social media that they didn't see me at a steak dinner, over a couple of glasses of wine before. But internally in, my organization, I did get a little bit of pushback. What are you doing? Do you have time to do this? And to be honest with you, man, it just made me, press the gas that much harder. And my numbers never faltered.
Yeah.
My production never faltered. My revenue generation never faltered. So when you're doing that, there's really not too much people can say, right? So I wanted my performance to always outshine,
100%.
Right? No matter what I was doing on the side, because everybody deserves to do some things that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
On the side. You don't have to dedicate 110% to your organization.
Yeah.
You can do, you can have some time to do some things on your own.
Totally.
I believe that.
I 100% agree. I have interesting, it's not about me, but I want to just tell the story because I never really talk about it. But when I started doing real estate on the side, I was working for a large international automotive company. And this was back in 08, 09. And people were getting laid off a lot back then, right? Economy was bad. And I started doing this on the side. I got featured in some local publications, big newspaper, whatever, doing some stuff. And my coworkers started murmuring, why does this guy even have a job? He should get laid off. He has other income. That isn't fair. And next thing you know, I get called up to HR and I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm done, And I go up there and the director of HR, to her credit, the director of HR said, hey, I know that you're doing this stuff. I saw the stuff in the paper. I hear what people are saying. She said, I only have one question for you. How are you doing this? I'm really interested in real estate. I would love to do what you're doing. I would love to sit down and talk to you about it. And she said, don't worry about your job. You're fine. You're doing a great job. But I'm curious. I'm really genuinely interested. I think it's awesome. Right. And I was like, whew, so I agree. Everyone deserves to do in their free time, certainly whatever it is they're passionate about, and I think that's a good lesson. If I can ask you, Anthony, obviously, I probably have some inkling of your answer in this, but I want you to answer it for me if you could. What is it? What's your why, right? What is it that fuels you other than money and success? What is it behind all of that? What's most important that makes you get up in the morning and keep going, even if the day before you got knocked on your butt? What makes you get up the next day? What is it for you that does that?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, right? There's probably a couple, egotistical things in there, trying to prove people wrong, that my therapist tells me it's not a good way to go about life. But, it's listen, there's that. There's really, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people that have come in and out of my life. And, that really got me up in the morning a lot in some down times, right? Seriously, proving people wrong. Now, obviously, my family, my kids, and creating a legacy, not just creating a high income for myself so we can go on vacations and have nice things, but actually creating some wealth so my kids don't have to grow up like I did, right? That's really, really important to me. And once you get to a certain level, you realize that, you have to have goals so big that if you get lazy, right, then your goals aren't big enough, right? Yeah. So I can't I look at my goal board right now, I can't give up. There's no quit because the end goal is so huge, right?
Yeah.
So my kids, absolutely. Obviously, like I said, the ego thing there as well. You know, when I was younger, that really drove me. And then I just remember, man, listen, I remember sleeping on, you know, futons and, you know, getting cars, you know, repossessed and creditors and student loans and so many times, you know, that I just never, ever want to go back. That was a long time ago, but, you know, you just remember those types of things.
Yeah.
And you never want to go back, and you want to create a life for your kids to where they're so far removed from that they'll never even, you know.
Yeah. That's a great answer, and it's a really nice and fair, transparent answer, because I think sometimes people get caught up in, and I say this, so I don't. It's not cliche. It's real. I do this for my kids, for legacy, for that kind of thing, for sure. That's my biggest motivator now. But I don't think you should discount fear of failure, fear of proving people right who said you couldn't do it. Like, I think sometimes, you know, it's like, do you run faster toward a pot of gold or away from a bear, right? I think sometimes you run faster away from a bear. It's okay. Yeah. And it's legitimate. It's real. It's just the way life is, right? So if you got a lot of people telling you can't do it, or you're stupid, or you're never going to make it, like, that can motivate you. Fear of waking up on futons and having creditors call you, that gets you up in the morning. I think that's legit, man. That's just as legit as the pleasure of what you can provide for your children and your family. I'm with you 100%. I fully admit I am part of my motivation, aside from my family, part of my motivation is fear of failure, fear of not having things taken away, and not necessarily material things, just my life, right? Like freedoms, right? It's exactly why. And I think that that's absolutely legitimate. So thanks for pointing that out. I'm glad you said that. When you decided you were very successful in sales in this privately held company, and then you decided to do something on your own, build your brand, do these kind of things. What part of the learning process did you have to go through? Like, because you didn't know how to do that necessarily intuitively, right? It's a whole nother industry and a skill and things that you didn't know. What was it? What did it look like for you to get educated? How long did you take before you started taking action? How much time did you spend setting the groundwork and figuring things out?
Yeah, it's a good question. So once I make a decision to do something, I take action right away. It's something that's always been there, and it's the gift and the curse, because sometimes you can spend a lot of unnecessary time and money taking action quickly. But with the brand and my businesses, now that I've been older, right, and the things I've done recently, it was coaching, right? I invested in coaching on the real estate business, and I invested coaching in my personal brand, and it really expedited the process for me. And I just following a blueprint, because I was going to spend time and money either way. Yeah. Right. So I figured I'll invest in a coach, have someone coach me on my personal brand, and it really helped expedite the process. But at the same time, I went into it with, you know, a long-term plan. It was I'm always playing long game. I didn't want to press myself to do anything, you know, under a certain time frame, because it was a thing I was doing on the side. Right. Yep. So I took my time. I learned it. You know, I did it the right way. And in my eyes, I'm still learning it every day. Because once you get into the social media game, man, it's a different game. It's a different game. I mean, on the surface, it looks like, I can do this. Anybody, you know, everybody's doing it. But once you get really into it, I mean, it's just like anything else, man. You got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined. You got to be prolific. You have to literally stick it out. There's been so many times where I've been like, fuck this. I mean, this is crazy. Yeah. But it's just like anything else, right? Yep. The people that get over the hump, the people that don't quit are the people that usually make it at the end of the day. So to answer your question, I would say, you know, I set the expectations pretty low on the side stuff. I mean, I had big goals, but I set the time frame slow. And then I got coaching. Yeah.
You know what, though? The thing I noticed is you said you took action immediately. What I find people who are successful, a lot of times this is the case. And it's sort of, I kind of heard this first from Gary Vaynerchuk and something he said, but he said you should practice micro impatience, and macro patience. So you had a long-term goal that you were patient about, but you clearly weren't necessarily patient about getting started toward that goal, right? You just weren't expecting to get there overnight. So I love it. I love the action taking right away. I would always take the person who takes action immediately and realizes they could make some mistakes over the person who feels like they have to lay out the perfect plan before they get started, because they never get started, in my opinion. They just always are planning and they're never actually starting. You'll never be 100%
I love it, man.
ready.
I love it. I never heard that Vaynerchuk quote, but yeah, I mean, dude, I live my life like that. Like, I don't have to have the plan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people fail or don't even get started because they don't have the plan. I don't need the plan. I just need the next actionable step.
Yep.
The plan will unfold as you take action. I have faith that the plan will unfold. So yeah, I love that, man. It resonates with me, and I live my life like that. I've never had to have the actionable plan. I mean, I think Tony Robbins said this really resonated with me, a long time ago. He said, the quality of your life will be in direct proportion to how much uncertainty you can deal with.
Yep. 100%. 100%. I love that. I love that quote. That resonates with me too. You mentioned quickly, and we're not going to spend tons of time, but I think it's relevant to my audience for sure. You started a short-term rental business. How long ago did you start that, and why did you do that? Because you have a lot going on, right? You have other irons in the fire, so it must have been important to you to add the real estate component. I'm wondering why and how did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to get into the real estate game. I wanted it to be something my whole family could get involved with, right?
Yep.
With the short-term rental game, you have to furnish the property. So, my wife would be really good at that. Yep. You have to have some customer service piece. So my wife could do that. And then as the portfolio grows, I think it's something that you can easily plug your kids into in some aspect of it if they want to, right? Yep. So I think the real estate portfolio is important to us. Now, we've always invested in real estate, right? I mean, we have commercial property. We have some industrial property. So we have some cash flowing assets out there, but nothing that we're actively managing, right? So and the short-term rental game is great because you can get in it so many different ways.
Yeah.
You can buy a property, right? And you can obviously Airbnb it, or you can go out and find real estate investors that have long-term rentals, and you can help them generate more revenue by taking that long-term rental and turning it in and managing it as a short-term rental as kind of a co-listing, right?
Yep.
And there's actually a commercial component to it too, with some like student housing and things like that, right? So there's a lot of different ways to get in the game. We bought, but we like short-term rentals for that reason. And listen, real estate has always been a part of our strategy. Just, dude, it's been the number one wealth-producing thing for 200 years. So
exactly. Yeah,
I don't argue with 200 years of that.
Yeah, it almost seems negligent to not get in on some level, right? Like you can't argue with that. Is this something that you're doing, or do you have partners in this short-term rental? You mentioned having your kids involved someday. Is it just like a family thing, or have you got partners?
Yeah, just a family thing. I'm in a mastermind group. Shout out to my guy Rock Thomas, who's a great guy. I'm in his mastermind, and he has some people in there who've done really, really good in the short-term rental game. Yep. And I got some coaching from those guys, and we just got in. So no investors yet. But as we look to scale it, we may look into doing that. It's one of those things you can take it as big as you want, but we want to really learn it. We want to, manage it ourselves and kind of take it slow. It's another long-term play for me. It's nothing, we're not trying to make a million in the next 2 years.
That makes sense. I know Rock, he's been on the show. He's a good dude. I know exactly who.
That's my guy. I got a call with him today, actually, in a couple hours. He's a really good guy.
He's a good dude. Tell him I said hi when you talk to him, please.
I will.
So, all right. You've got this, you've got so much going on. It's so exciting. Like as an entrepreneur, I get super stoked when I hear about people who have a lot going on and they're like achieving at a high level, because it's so much fun to talk to those kind of people. But you've got your main, like the $70 million company, you're a big partner in that. You've got some real estate stuff and other things going on. You've mentioned that you have your own kind of personal brand and things that some products and things that you're offering. What are you working on right now that you're excited about in that vein, the personal brand side? What are you working on now, and what is it that you think you can do to help people to kind of to grow their own thing or to do something for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the personal brand, and I appreciate you asking that question. The personal brand is really geared towards helping people who are salespeople that want to level up their sales game and start to earn the income that they deserve. Right. So I have 3 sales books on Amazon right now, which are great resources. And we're building out a whole suite of digital products. So we got, coaching products on, cold calling, coaching products on, the art of persuasion. We have coaching products on the blueprint to wealth, right? It's a whole program on basically what I just told you, how to, learn how to sell, learn how to generate a high income, learn how to do the enterprise sale, close big deals, learn how to take that high income, invest it into cash flowing assets, right?
Yeah.
This is for people who don't know what they want to do in their life. I'm literally giving them a blueprint to creating some wealth for them and their family, right? So a lot of different coaching products we have coming out, which I'm super excited about. We have the podcast, the Anthony Eisenman Show, which just creates more value. It's on iTunes and Spotify. So many different things going on, man. And I continue to put out a ton of free content on all the social media platforms. So we're excited about it, man. It's a long-term play for me as well. I'm not, pressed to do anything except continue to follow the process, which I'm going to do.
I love it. I've checked out your podcast, good quality podcast. I suggest people go check that out for sure. The 3 resources, 3 books on Amazon you talked about was The Science of Persuasion, Master Cold Calling, and My Sales Mentality. Guys, go to Amazon and check those out. If people want to reach out to you, how can they learn more about you? Is there a central place to go or an email or something where they can reach out?
Yeah, so it's a good segue. So go to Instagram at Anthony Eisenman. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes here.
Yep.
And from there, you can go to my link tree and you can get links to everything, right? All the stuff. But if you DM me the word book, or actually DM me the word Mike, DM me the word Mike, and I'll give you one of my 3 books for free. I'll send them a digital copy of it for free for your audience, Mike. Just have them DM me on Instagram, the word Mike. And they can pick any one of those 3. So we got the mindset, right? Mindset, super important. We got cold calling if you're trying to generate leads or generate revenue just by picking up the phone, or the science of persuasion, which is, it's just a deep dive on how to build relationships which is super important to selling.
I love it. So guys, go to Anthony Eisenman. It'll be in the show notes. You can just click on it. It'll be a link for you. And DM the word Mike and get that resource, guys. I'm telling you, education is everything. You have to learn. You have to evolve. All the best. I've watched some of your IG stuff talking about Michael Jordan. Like I don't care who it is. Name the most successful, great person in your mind, and trust me, they had to learn. They had mentors. They had coaches. They had somebody who helped them get better. And the more of that you can. And by the way, there's no end time, right? Like I'm sure you still consume. You still learn. I know you have coaches. I have coaches. I still consume. If you're not consuming information to try to better yourself, I hope you love exactly where you are right now, because that's where you will be in 20 years. So I love it, man. And I always love when people give away free resources, because putting together a book or something like that, it's not nothing. It takes time. It takes energy, and you put your heart and soul into it. So thank you for doing that, man. I really appreciate it. This has been a ton of fun. It's been good to get to know you. Like you said, we've got mutual friends, and I thank them too for introducing us and letting us do this, because it's been a blast. And I think that episodes like this, people like you, it just shows you like you can do it. Like, I don't care where you are, man. And by the way, I just want to say this, Anthony. I didn't say it earlier. I meant to say it, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Sales to me, like sales is so important. I don't care what your job is. You need to be better at sales, even if it's just to negotiate, like you said, some sort of a way to get paid for your production. If it's even just to better communicate with the world, to get things that that you want in any situation, and learn how to talk to people effectively, right? It's really communications. Sales is communications. And tell me a person who doesn't need better communications in their life. Even if you're just talking to your wife, like it'd be great to have better communications, right? So thanks for putting that out into the world, man. Thank you for sharing your skills and what you do well with the world and making it available. I think people like you are super important. You make the world go round. So thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be on. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. If there's anything I can ever do for you or the audience, man, let me know. And again, I appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk soon, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, that was a lot of fun. Anthony's a good guy, and like I said, he was a recommendation from somebody that I respect very highly, and I love those, and he delivered big time. Sales is critical, guys. Sales is king. I don't necessarily consider myself the best salesperson. However, even if sales isn't your career, even if sales isn't your your native skill, you have to recognize the need for it and how it affects your entire life and everything you do. A lot of that goes back to how good are you at selling yourself? How good are you at selling your ideas? Even if it's just getting a raise at work or a promotion or getting considered for a job or whatever, right? Like even in a 9-to-5, sales is absolutely foundational. So you should go check out his stuff, guys, and check out his podcast. Go check out those books. And by the way, DM him my name, Mike, and get that free resource. You owe it to yourself to do that. Education is so important, guys. But really, you heard him say it. It's about execution, too. He went out there and executed immediately when he knew he wanted to do something different, and he made it happen. So go out there, execute, make it happen for yourself. We'll see you next time.